basically then at some point she did say that she couldn't say no. And that was like a bell for me. And that's the magic of RTT, let's say, because in my opinion, I'm not lovable. That's a belief. That's not the problem. We are either in the feeling of love or in the or state of love or in the state of fear. Hello. Welcome. Please join. How is everybody doing? We're going to start shortly. Yes, Rina. Hello. Hello, Agatha. Hello, Lelia. Awesome to see everybody. Hi, Rina. So, hello and welcome to yet another episode in the series of RTT Conversations. My name is Eric, and my goal in life is to help as many people as possible to find their true authentic self, find love towards themselves, and that, in my opinion, is the key to true authentic happiness in life. I'm a life coach and a hypnotherapist, and my today's guest is Rina. You're a psychologist, and you wrote a book on meditation, right?
Yes, I wrote a book called How Meditation Empowers You.
Wonderful. So please make yourself comfortable.
I was getting the lighting. The lighting is a little funny here.
Yeah, it's a little bright if you are close to the camera, but if you're further away, I think it's good.
Is this better?
This is good, yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. Have natural face color.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Lelia. So please, Rina, introduce yourself, and we're going to speak today about boundaries.
Yes. So my name is Rina Weissman. I'm the author of How Meditation Empowers You. I'm very passionate about meditation, even though my background is in psychology. I studied psychology and drama therapy, but I'm an avid meditator. And boundaries is a very close topic to my heart. I'm very passionate about boundaries. I believe it's a very important part of mental health and loving ourselves, etc. And I'm excited to talk to you about it today.
Absolutely. This is amazing because boundaries, it has all to do with really loving yourself, as you said. It's first of all, in my opinion, it's about knowing yourself. Like, you can only be able to set boundaries if you know where they are and if you feel when they are crossed, right? And when somebody crossed them, many people don't even realize that. They just feel maybe some tension in their body, but they can't describe it, and they just let it happen. What's your experience there?
Yeah, I mean, I like to kind of go back to first asking, why don't we have boundaries? So, what's your take on it first?
Why we don't have them?
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, we all have boundaries. However, we don't know when, some of us don't know or don't feel when those boundaries are crossed. How we can realize that happens is we kind of feel unease with the person who is crossing the boundaries. And I think that's the first thing. And so, in my opinion, if somebody doesn't know where their boundaries are...
Rocky, know your boundaries. Go away now.
It's your boundary, by the way, not his. He or she?
It's a dog, Rocky. He.
Yeah. So, yeah. So in my opinion, we all have them, but not all of us necessarily know about them and understand when they're crossed and what to do if they are crossed. What do you think?
The way I see boundaries is, from a psychological kind of take on it. If you grew up with respect, meaning that your caregivers, your parents, accepted your feelings, respected your feelings, you're going to have boundaries. Basically, if we grew up in a safe, healthy, loving environment, we're going to have boundaries. And if we grew up in neglect or abuse, and even if we didn't, doesn't have to be neglect or abuse, even if we didn't grow up with, our feelings being respected, we're going to have a problem with boundaries. And, it has to do with healthy self-esteem and loving ourselves. And I didn't have healthy boundaries. And it's very important to say also that all parents love their children. Not all parents know how to be loving. To be loving means to not judge and to accept. And most parents are very judging and not accepting, which is why most of us grow up with issues, like one of them being boundaries. So, you know, that not having boundaries is not being able to say no, because you want to please them, because you want them to love that you. So if we didn't get the love that we needed from our parents, who all parents love their children, we're going to probably have an issue with boundaries. Because yeah, my issue with boundaries is basically that I wanted to please people, and I was afraid that if I say no to something, that I'll lose their love. So this is the biggest fear we have when we don't have ourselves, when we don't know ourselves, when we don't love ourselves. We are basically asking for the love of the other, and for that we're willing to pay a high price. And one of those things is to, you know, like you said, we all have boundaries, we don't know how to set them. One of them is putting away our boundaries, you know, just compromising them for the sake of keeping the other. So that's how I see it. Yeah.
Basically letting the other person cross your boundaries because you're looking for their love, because you think that this is your price in yours, you have to pay in order to get their love, right? And the reason, if I understood you correctly, lies in the past. If the parents of that person didn't teach them basically how to set boundaries, because they didn't show them actually the connection they required, the love, which a child really requires and really needs in their childhood. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And interestingly, what happens in the childhood is that some limiting beliefs are formed, right? Beliefs about myself. So, for example, I am not lovable the way I am. And the parents might not be, they might be, as you say, they might be very, very loving, but the way they expressed love was not, did not contribute to positive beliefs of that specific child. And so today I suggest we speak about two different approaches, how to help somebody who doesn't know how to set their boundaries, how to say no. And your approach is meditation, right? While the approach I learned is RTT. It's called Rapid Transformational Therapy, which is what I speak about on this channel a lot. And as a hypnotherapist and as a coach, I have other techniques. But today we're going to speak about RTT more. So how would you approach the issue with boundaries with meditation?
First, I want to say that, again, I studied psychology, and I did study hypnosis, and I read the Psycho-Cybernetics book by Maxwell. And I believe, from a psychology point of view, that we are relational beings, meaning we get screwed through relationships. Our parents screwed us by not being loving and accepting, and thus we form beliefs that we are not worthy, not good enough, and therefore we must go and please other people in order to get love. So I believe that we're relational beings. We get screwed through a relationship, thus we must heal through a relationship. So from a psychological point of view, I have to say that when you have a healthy relationship, you will form boundaries, because you will slowly realize through the healing relationship that you are loved and accepted for who you are. But even though I'm from that psychology field, I want to put that on the side. And again, say that I'm very passionate about meditation, because with psychology, there's a lot of issues finding the right therapist. If it's not the right therapist, then you can get more damage. It's complicated as far as I see it. What meditation does in terms of forming boundaries is, again, like I said, a relationship is what screwed us in childhood, and a relationship must heal us. In meditation, as opposed to psychology, we don't form the relationship with a therapist like in psychology. We form a relationship with ourselves. So
yeah, absolutely.
You go inwards, you form a relationship with yourself. You go very deep inside. And when you spend enough time in silence, and this is my belief, I believe that when you will be silent long enough, you will realize the truth. And the truth is that you are good enough, worthy, and lovable. Okay. Now, this is different from psycho-cybernetics, and I don't know about RTT, you'll explain it in a minute, and hypnosis, where you brainwash yourself, I'm lovable, I'm good enough, and then you go out into the world and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. You have the guts to say no. What meditation does is from the inside out. You know, religion tells you don't kill, but if you meditate long enough, you'll realize for yourself, oh, I shouldn't kill. Same thing here. Psycho-cybernetics brainwashes you, I'm good enough, I'm lovable, and then you got into the world and say, you know what, I'm good enough, I'm not going to do that for you. Meditation, once you go inwards, the belief is changed in a very deep, organic way, meaning you realize from the depths of silence, from the grace that you find there, from the connection with love, God, whatever you want to call it, that the truth is that you are lovable and everything else was a lie, meaning your parents who loved you lied to you when they controlled you or punished you and made you feel that you're not worthy. So that's the way meditation works, to actually change the belief that you are not lovable or good enough, and therefore you don't have the luxury to say no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, this is basically, so what you're saying is you have to go inside deeply enough and long enough. You have to train yourself to find your core belief and to speak to you, to the actual you, to the core you, right?
Right.
And basically what you're doing in your practice, you are finding a new approach to yourself and yearning to speak to the to the true you, right? To find the authentic you, and from that core you, basically, or that core you, you are teaching to love yourself, to accept yourself, and to see and realize that you are worthy, you are enough, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your parents showed you, or what you interpreted what your parents showed you, right? So, because that's a very key, in my opinion, key point there. So yeah, absolutely agree. What RTT does, this is a technique where we are doing exactly that. We are getting to the core beliefs of the person by the means of hypnosis. Hypnosis makes it faster. Basically, we are directly speaking with the unconscious mind, because that's the unconscious mind. About 80% of our actions in life are driven by the unconscious mind, right? So in order to change our behaviors, we have to address that. We can't just, we can, of course, work with the conscious mind, but that will just take longer, and that's just more difficult, because the conscious mind always is kind of, there's the ego, which is the conscious mind wants to cover up for the ego. It wants to always justify our behaviors, right? Logically explain everything, and it's easy to get into victim mood or victim kind of behavior, saying, well, this is not my fault, this is the surrounding, they made me do this or that, or they are crossing my boundaries, let's say, or they don't love me, and I need to do something in order to accept their life. There is no other way, right? There's the conscious mind, but the unconscious mind, it actually holds the beliefs, which are, for example, I am not lovable, I'm not enough the way I am. So what RTT does, we get to speak to that unconscious mind, to the inner child, and we uncover those situations. When and where did it happen? For example, as you say in your example, that parents of a child did something which that child understood, right? We always give an explanation to what we see. We always interpret what happens to us. So that child made an interpretation of what happened, and that's how they form the belief that they're not enough. So with RTT, we first identify that, and then the next step is to change that. We change that limiting belief, and then, having done that, the conscious mind has basically to follow, because that's the subconscious mind which we are working with.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, I'm totally into the conscious and unconscious mind. You know, the conscious mind will always obey the, whatever the unconscious beliefs. And this is, whatever works. Meaning, again, I'll use the analogy of religion. Religion says don't kill. Okay, and if you don't kill because religion told you, it's great. And if you meditated long enough and you realize you shouldn't kill, that's awesome. It doesn't matter how you get there, just don't kill. Same thing here. You know, if you meditate long enough and you realize, oh, I am lovable, I am good enough, and now you say no to this jerk that's pushing me around, or you do ITT and you go into that moment where mommy told you something, and where you form that core belief that you're not good enough. It's fine. Whatever works. You know, it's very easy to think that, oh, my way is the best. No, my way works because you're into it. But you know what? I've come to realize that there's never one way. And if anybody tells you there's one way, you should run. And,
Absolutely.
And whatever works is fine. And there's no need to be rigid. But I'd like to ask you a question. If I came to you now for for therapy, to you, and I said to you, hi, I have an issue with boundaries. How do you start? Meaning, do you right away realize that something happened in childhood? Do you know which beliefs? Because I don't know what beliefs I have that don't allow me to say no to somebody. How do you find out the beliefs that I have that don't allow me to have boundaries?
An awesome question, because I don't know myself what belief you formed in your childhood, or if it was childhood, mostly, in most cases it is in the childhood. And that's how it's so interesting. Every time with every new client, there's always going to be something new, some new story will come up, because we all tell ourselves basically lies about ourselves. And those are the lies, are basically the limiting beliefs. Like, I'm not enough, that's a lie, because I always am, no matter what I'm wearing, no matter how much net worth I am, no matter how many clients I have, no matter how many children, and if whatever, so how I would start: first of all, I would speak with you, just with the conscious part of you, about 15 minutes, just asking you, what is your actual issue? When does it show that you have some problems with the boundaries? You might not even be aware that the issue are the boundaries. Right. Because I have an experience with a client. She came to me and she said that she's just too tired. She's just tired. People just come to her and they give her work and work and work, and she just keeps doing that. But she just basically then at some point she did say that she couldn't say no. And that was like a bell for me. I said, well, do you think maybe that this could be about your boundaries, about setting boundaries? That's when she was like, well, it could be. So that's like the entrance point. Just let you speak. What is your issue? How can I help you? Right. And then when we discussed that a little bit, I would basically start the hypnosis session, because if you knew what your underlying beliefs were consciously, you would be able to help yourself, right? You would be able to eliminate those beliefs. Most people don't know what those are. That's why hypnosis is so powerful. So basically, we go into hypnosis, and then I ask you to go into scenes one after another, in which, from your past, in which you have the same kind of feeling that you described you have the issue with right now. For example, not being able to say no when people were pushing you a lot. Or maybe somebody does understand that that's about love, that's about deserving love or getting love from somebody. When was it? When did it occur in your life when you didn't receive love? You were doing something, but still you didn't receive love. And then the subconscious mind will pop up with a scene. It could be more than one, but that's fine. The first one, the more vivid one, we will explore. And if the other one pops up, we will explore that too. Minimum of 3 scenes, but it could be more. And yeah, that's how I would start.
So basically, so what you're saying is, I mean, it's kind of from what you're doing in psychology, because in
Yeah.
therapy they talk to you about your relationships, the current ones. Then basically your current relationships are usually, kind of like a re-dramatization of your early relationships. And when something is a problem now, it was probably a problem in the so basically you find the scene from childhood, and then you go back to that scene with that individual, and what do? You dismantle it? What happens then?
Well, I see what happened, but most importantly is how did it feel for the person? What were the feelings? Because, we can have the same situation, the same kind of issue happening. Let's say a car crash, and there are like 8 people involved, but there would be 8 stories
Of course.
connected to that same incident, right? So what I'm interested in are the feelings and, in the end, of course, the beliefs. I wouldn't ask the person what is the belief you formed then? But if I'm speaking to the child who is now like unconsciously revealing themselves, they might not even know what belief they formed. So basically, I guide them and see what they felt, and I would ask, and you feel that because, and they would finish the sentence, and there the underlying beliefs would be. Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. I love it. It's so like let's say there's a scene where you go back with the client, and mommy, they dropped a cup and they broke it, and mommy yelled at them, and they're saying, at that moment I felt that mom doesn't love me. But I'll tell you, before that, I always had a problem with like change your beliefs, and I'm like, change your beliefs. I don't know
Yeah.
what my beliefs are. How can I change something I don't know?
Absolutely.
It's really like, how do you change limiting beliefs when you don't even know what limiting beliefs you have? So you're saying that you help them get to the feeling, and even when you get to the feeling, you don't know what belief. A kid doesn't know, to make the connection, well, because mommy yelled at me, I felt really bad, and I formed the belief that I'm not good enough. So, but do you see it, or does the belief even matter, or is it the feeling that matters?
First of all, the feelings matter because they are the path to the beliefs, right? So, and the most common underlying beliefs basically can be summed up to three kind of core beliefs, let's say, according to Marissa Peer, who is the creator of RTT. And those are: I'm not enough, which is the same as, or goes into the same direction as, I'm not worthy of love, and, all of those. I'm not significant enough. That's basically, I'm not enough. The other one is, I'm different and I can't connect. And the third one is, what I truly want is not available to me. So it will be one of the three, maybe both, or two of them, or even three of them, all three of them. So in those scenes, it's important to see what is the most important one. And if we get one, it's perfect, right? Because it doesn't need to be exactly these words. It must be the wording of the client, of course, because that's what's most powerful for them. That's what they believe in. And I, for myself, once I hear that, they say something like, I am nothing. I'm an empty spot. I shouldn't be there, for example. For me, that means I'm not enough. That's the one. And then we move forward. I might ask if there is anything more important in that scene, and maybe something else pops up, new feelings, new beliefs. Yeah, that'd be it.
And once you catch the belief and you realize, oh, okay, their belief is I'm, just empty space. How do you go about to change it?
Yeah, we are. That's the magic of RTT, let's say. Well, we are reframing them, and we are changing the perception. Once we have spoken about that, that's when we become the observers. It's also in quantum physics, right? Once you observe something, it changes. Once you put your thought on paper, it changes. You kind of dissociate from it. It just happens. That's how our brain works, right? And now that adult person can see how they felt so disempowered in their childhood. And they can see, hey, no, I'm not 4 years old anymore. I'm 44. I'm 54. And I understand that if I broke my mom's vase, I can buy them a new one. I can apologize. And this has nothing to do with me. I see that now. But you need to see, you need to feel. In hypnosis, you need to feel the feeling that you had back then in order to understand why, and the connection, why you feel now not enough or not significant. You need to feel it. It's difficult to do it only consciously and just remembering. If I remember something, what happened back whenever in my childhood, it could just feel same, like sad, but it's like, well, it's in the past. I can't change that anymore. That's the power of hypnosis, because you are there.
It's so, you're saying it's so powerful just to make them realize how helpless they felt at that moment that they broke the vase. Just that alone can heal them and empower them, you're saying.
Yes, seeing that is not me anymore. That was me when I was little, but that was age appropriate, right? I behaved age appropriately, basically, and now I don't need to do that anymore. That little child was still in me. I carried this little child for my whole life, and it wasn't served, basically. And now I can serve this need of connection, this need of being understood, that I didn't do it on purpose, and this understanding, mom still loves me, right?
It's amazing. But basically, meditation does the same thing, babe, because
Mm-hmm.
first of all, meditation teaches you to become an observer. If anything that meditation does train you to do is observe. I do Vipassana meditation, where there's two parts. Anapana, where you actually learn to observe your breath going in and out, and that's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Vipassana, or Buddha, what Buddha teaches is you observe the breath so you can have awareness, but awareness will not help you know yourself. You have to also become equanimous. And the second part of Vipassana is to scan your body and observe your sensations, and without reacting to them. Once we train our mind to observe without reacting, it's very powerful. And it's maybe it's a longer process, I guess, than RTT, but you form a relationship with yourself, you go inwards, and things do come up, and you observe it, and you don't react, and you go back to the feeling of how bad you felt when you broke the vase. And it's you witness that feeling. And from a psychological point of view, what you're talking about is witnessing. When we go to a therapist, we are paying them for only one thing: to witness us without judgment. That is it. That is the healing, and that's called empathy. Empathy is when you actually can observe somebody without judging them, and that's the healing component of therapy. And what happens here, you're saying that you're taking them to that feeling when they were a child, and that is the same feeling they have now as adult, that is with them, and they can just observe that feeling without judgment, and that in itself is very healing and empowering, and they can actually remove themselves from this pattern just by that. Because I mean, that's what healing is about. It's about, if we just learn how to observe and not react, which is basically non-judgment, we can heal ourselves, and also that's love. I mean, what is love? If you want to be loving towards your children, towards your friends, to be loving means to witness without judgment. That's it. That's it.
True.
You can love them as
unconditional love.
That's unconditional love.
Absolutely.
So, but my question is, so that's a great thing, to bring them to the feeling. RTT brings you to the feeling of that is similar to what you feel now, which is probably early on as a child, etc. You are kind of dissociated. You can observe it, which makes you realize, okay, I'm not that helpless child anymore. I have the power. But my question is, do you also implant a new belief? Because the belief is, I'm not good enough. Do you implant that, or do you not even bother?
Absolutely, we do. The thing is, I think you called it brainwashing. I found very, very, very funny because that's what it is. Why not? I mean, why not call it that? I mean, Marissa's new book is called Tell Yourself a Better Lie, because we are telling ourselves lies on a daily basis. And those lies are, I'm not good enough. That's a lie. Let's tell ourselves a better one and say, and brainwash ourselves in a positive way and say, I am enough. But before I do that, I get the client to really understanding and transforming into the new feeling of themselves as enough, because that's mandatory. They have to see how and why they are enough. That empowerment has to take place. And then when it does, we have to basically, and that's what we do in the end, we solidify it, we make it firm, let's say, by creating a transformational recording. That's a big and very, very great, amazing part of an RTT session. Each RTT session, I prepare a individualized recording in which I am saying, basically going into the induction process again. That's the steps. We're going down, relaxing, and then I'm saying all the words with which they have to hear. Those must be their words, their sentences, because that's most powerful, and things which came up basically during the session. So basically what they understood, what empowered them. Something like, I am lovable. And maybe they don't need the love of their mom. That's because that's enough. It's enough to have the love of themselves, because that's the most important love, right? That's where you start. So those things go into the recording. And because our mind learns by repetition, one session is a good thing, but listening to the recording every single day, maybe even twice a day, would reinforce the transformation which we acquired during the session. And well, our mind learns by repetition, and if you want to form a new habit, you need to repeat those sentences. Those, you can call them affirmations, you can call them truths, you can call them brainwashing. You repeat them listening to that recording for I say there've been studies between 18 and 66 days. There was another study which said it totally varies among people, because we just all are so different. It could even be over 200 days. It really depends on the person, because we all change in different ways. Some people just change instantly, some change gradually, some change, some don't even realize that they changed. And then some other, your friends might tell you, you look so different now, and you look so loving, and you're like shining. What happened to you? And you'd be like, I didn't notice, now that you say, right? So yeah, that's how it works.
Amazing. I mean, I am all in for brainwashing. I think brainwashing is great because, again, we were brainwashed all through childhood, and now we need to brainwash ourselves from the limiting beliefs. And it's amazing to me how, basically the core beliefs that we adopted from the lack of empathy that we endured in childhood was that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, or I can't have that. It's amazing. Because when I was in India and I was meditating, I did a 10-day meditation course of silence, no talking, 10 days, 12 hours of meditation.
Wow.
It was so clear to me. I came out of there with tears in my eyes, and I realized that love will always tell you three things: that you're good enough, you're worthy, and there's abundance, and you're worthy of that abundance. And that's what those are. It's amazing how love can form beliefs. That's the beliefs that belong to love, and the beliefs that belong to fear are, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, and I don't deserve anything. And when we don't get love, we go into fear, and then we just naturally adopt those beliefs. And when we are in love, when we get love, we naturally believe we're good enough. And it's amazing that love is the answer. Now, the thing that I'm just curious with RTT is that I see it let's imagine a tree for a second, and I feel like you're kind of, you know, there's branches, and RTT takes the branches and tries to heal them. And you know, correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to learn. And I just feel like when you meditate, it's again, it's you know, from the inside out, a little bit more organic. You're not attacking any specific belief. You're just going inwards. And basically, what happens in, I guess, in meditation, I'm realizing now, you're connecting with love. And love, again, like I said, the beliefs that belong to love are, I'm worthy, I'm good enough, and I can have that. So you know, we just have to move from fear to love. Meditation does it, I guess, in a longer process. RTT, I guess, one, you know, again, I feel like RTT, hypnosis, psycho-cybernetics, brainwashing, you know, attacks the branches. The branch is sick. There's a sick branch because mom, you know, was mean to me when I broke the vase. Now we're going to fix the branch. I'm just curious, that do you always have to keep on attacking new branches? I don't know, maybe because the root, I feel the root is sick. The root is no love, and I need love. And once I have love, I'll realize I'm good enough. But you're saying, no, I'm going to go with you to the belief that was formed from you not feeling loved. Do you get what I'm talking, like, I'm just curious with myself. Like, I want to accept RTT and brainwashing. I'm for it. I just wonder, does it, in your opinion, attack branches as opposed to the root?
I would use the word heal and not attack. And I would actually...
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
Okay.
Address. Let's say address. We will address the issue. I would say there is a difference between the presenting problem, the problem which you come to me as a client, and the root cause of the problem, right? So if you know that your problem is I am not lovable, then you actually already kind of are in the beliefs. Because in my opinion, I'm not lovable. That's a belief. That's not the problem. That's the cause of other presenting problems. As, for example, not being able to say no. Let's go back to, as if we go back to our topic today. So, and in my opinion, the beliefs are in the root. They are not in the branches.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, I was confused. So it's in the root. And the branches are the problems that arise from the root.
Absolutely.
I'm not lovable. Okay, so RTT and meditation then go to the root and address the core issue that is universal for all of us, that we don't feel lovable, good enough, and worthy.
Yeah. And I think it's absolutely perfectly said that we are either in the feeling of love or in the state of love or in the state of fear. That's the two, like, you know, two poles. And we all, that's human. We act either out of love, compassion, or out of fear and scarcity, basically, right? So love is abundance and fear is scarcity. Like, I'm afraid that I won't get something, and love is just, it's just warmth. It's just, I'm not afraid. I'm here, and everything is here, and everything is enough for everybody. And I'm sure that meditation is just another approach, just like so many other approaches. I love meditation. I don't do that enough, in my opinion. And for example, I love investigating and practicing meditations of Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you are fond of him and his approach, because what I tried was incredible, because I felt something, and like when you feel like there's this emptiness, and you just kind of detach from your ego, the ego which wants to prove something and which needs to be proven if it's lovable or not. If you detach from that, it's just wow. It's like the whole world is yours, because who are you? I'm not my body, right? I am, what am I? That's a philosophical question, of course, but that only can happen if we look at our thoughts and investigate them. And that's what we also do in RTT. And actually, there was a question before. I just don't want to lose it. In the beginning, somebody asked if it's important to have boundaries in your life. Actually, it's better if I read it, because I love also if people ask questions. Boundaries, are they mandatory in someone's life? I'm not speaking about boundaries related to values. Well, I think boundaries are about self-love and appreciation, and about knowing and appreciating who you are. So in my opinion, they are not mandatory. They just are, right? They are just part of our life. What do you think?
Well, I think boundaries are a natural byproduct of when we are in a state of love. I mean, not in a state of love, but when we love ourselves and we feel we're good enough, worthy, etc. And boundaries are important because boundaries, mean that we are putting ourselves first, and we are taking care of ourselves, and we are not running on empty. And if we do too much for others because we don't feel worthy and we need to buy their love, then we're harming ourselves. We're no good for ourselves. We're no good for others. Boundaries is a crucial thing. It's again, we were speaking about love the whole time instead of boundaries, even though this whole session is about boundaries, because boundaries mean that I am good enough, I'm worthy, and I love myself. And therefore, I don't have to do something I don't want to do just because it's going to please you. And I'm not going to harm myself just to make you happy. It's a boundary. No, having no boundaries means that I lose and you win. Having boundaries means that I win and you win. And it's so important. And people suffer from a lack of boundary. They suffer so much. They suffer mentally, physically. They work too hard, they do too much, they feel betrayed, they feel disappointed. They I'll speak for myself. Because I didn't have boundaries, I lost relationships because I would do so much for other people, and then I would feel so disappointed that it wasn't reciprocated. And my whole life, I just I invested so much in relationships and gave so much in hopes of getting love, and thus didn't have boundaries, that I was not able to form healthy relationships. You cannot have a healthy relationship without boundaries. That's how important boundaries are. And I'm talking even with your dog or your kid. If you don't have boundaries, even your dog will step all over you and want you to
Absolutely.
walk, and your kid will step all over you. And it's such an important part. And I formed boundaries very late in life, only just the last few years. And I did it after a lot of suffering. Not a lot of meditation, and not a lot of hypnosis, a lot of suffering. I suffered so much that it was either I'm done, I'm finished, or I stand up for myself. That's how scary it was for me to stand up for myself. That's how it's hard it is for some people. So yeah.
Oh my God, I appreciate that so much. And I think dogs and kids are the best teachers ever, because they show us, right? They don't know about feeling ashamed if you don't teach them, right? Or if you don't have to teach them feeling of shame, because that's not the best thing in the world. But they don't know where to stop until you tell them, right? And they don't not stop because they don't love you. That's a complicated sentence. So they love you, but they still go on because they don't know where the boundaries are. So you have to show them. And also, to just elaborate a little bit on the relationships and the importance of setting boundaries in any relationship. Actually, it doesn't need to be only romantic relationships, right? Any relationship needs boundaries, because if we don't set them, and if we don't say no, if you always, in our opinion, please others or do something for them, we are actually, and I truly believe that, we're actually manipulating them.
Yes.
Because we are not showing them our true selves. And that's really not anymore about I lose, they win. that's a lose-lose. Absolutely. It might look differently in the beginning, but that's what it will end up with, because you have to see that you're okay. Like, I'm okay the way I am. These are my boundaries, and that's okay that they are there. And the other person, you are okay. And I will just tell you, this is my boundary. And if you cross it, um, you are not respecting it, basically. That's your choice, because I can't make you, right? And respect you if you choose to cross it. But then also I tell you what's going to happen if you do. I'm going to leave, for example, or I'm going to do something else, right? And that's just informing, truly, authentically, just telling the other person who you are. And that's authentic. Um, and also you said something really interesting. You said that you felt betrayed, or that a person can feel betrayed in a relationship where they do so much, right? And the other
Well, that's
person
a bit,
basically,
I was in victim mode. So basically, when you're in victim
mm,
mode, you feel like, and it's so important because a lot of people feel when they're in victim mode, like I was, that they're doing
yeah,
too much and feel betrayed.
yeah,
I want to really clarify that that's victim mode, because
yeah,
if you really want to be honest about it, I was manipulating them. I was
yeah,
saying, and it's hard to say. It's like, what? Because you always think that the person that gives so much is such a good person, and the person that only takes is such a bad person. But the
mm,
truth is that the person that gives so much is manipulating, is not being authentic, and is
yeah.
bribing somebody for their love. So they're not such a good guy. So yeah,
Yes,
that. But yeah.
absolutely. And being in the victim mode, that is actually, and feeling that you are suffering and that the other person is betraying you, that is actually, if you go deep enough, you would understand that that is not possible. The other person cannot betray you. They cannot actually harm you. They can do something out of their reasons, because they have their experience, they have their views on on our life, on you, on the relationship, and they do something because of them, not because of us. And if we feel betrayed, if I feel betrayed, that's on me. That's my responsibility. And well,
When you're in victim
that's
mode, it's hard to see that. When you're in victim mode, it's victim mode is when you cannot see anything. You're just reacting.
yeah,
There's no ability to observe. So it's,
mm,
you have to come out of that mode to even
mm,
be able to see that. So it's, yeah. This is
yeah,
a subject, I mean, this can go, we can go to a lot of
absolutely. But I love it.
twists and turns here, but boundaries, again, it's the ability to say no. If you don't have it, RTT can help you identify what happened, that the belief that didn't allow you to love yourself enough to do that. Meditation, again, you go deep inside. It's basically becoming an observer. Once you're able to
Hmm.
observe, through RTT, through meditation, you can set yourself free.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you put it absolutely perfectly. You put it to the point. So, whatever method suits best the audience, it's always up to you. There's no one method. There is no one way, and I am for exploring, for trying different things, and yeah, absolutely. So, was there anything else that you would like to share, maybe, with the audience?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. It's and by the way, you can do both. You can go to a RTT therapist and identify a belief and work with it, and then listen to the recording a couple of times a day and
Hmm.
brainwash yourself. Tell yourself another lie, like you said,
Yeah,
and you can meditate in conjunction. So it's not one or the other,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
it's important to realize it. Again, I always say there's never ever one way, and if anyone tells you that, be careful. And nobody's way is the best, not my way, not your way. And you can combine it. And that's what's important is to come to a place of love where you can really
Yes.
yourself, and loving yourself is the most important thing, and knowing yourself is the most important thing, because then you can finally do what's important, and that is to be of service to others, to share yourself with others, share your gifts, your
Yeah.
talent, your love. Yeah.
Yeah, and loving yourself doesn't necessarily mean to be always like happy and joyful and everything. The loving and accepting yourself is actually to love everything of you, like every part of you. And yeah,
To be accepting.
absolutely.
I mean, accepting. I always, I like to go back to what Buddha taught. Just learn to observe and not react, and to observe and not react, to not judge. If we get that right, we're on the right track for sure.
Absolutely, I agree. That's also called, I think, emotional intelligence, right? You just find an emotion, you don't react to it. You just first like are aware of it and you name it. Oh, your picture
Yeah,
froze.
it's
And
funny again.
yes, absolutely. Well, that tells us basically
Yeah.
we can wrap it up at this point. I think it's been a wonderful conversation. I enjoyed it so much, Rina. Thank you so much for being
I
here.
really enjoyed talking to you. You're wonderful.
Thank you so much. And let's keep in touch
Yeah.
and talk to
Take
you
care.
soon.
Take
Take
care.
care. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.